All right. So we're going to throw something different down here, aren't we? Bob has decidedly to skip out on us here. Had to kind of take care of some business, whatever that may be. But heck, dude, you get added today, and now it's just you and me.
Yeah, look at that. I got bumped up to like second host already.
We're gonna take it away from him. He won't know. He'll never listen to this.
Exactly.
So we were so ill prepared for anything because we didn't know what we were gonna do, and so you know what, we're just gonna kind of wing it. But we dude, last time we had a lot of fun though. We were just kind of riffing on baseball cards and trading cards. After we did that, did you like kind of reflect on anything and have any ideas or thoughts on maybe ones that we missed or?
No, not really. Not the baseball cards as much. I was also thinking more about the cover songs, but we should probably wait for Bob to come back for that one.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that I was shopping today, and they were playing it was Big Yellow Taxi, and I want to say it was Counting Crows, but it could be wrong. I forget who did the cover of that, but it was bad.
Oh
But yeah,
yeah.
that had me thinking of it again.
Yeah, and we could dive into a couple of them. I got to thinking about this because I know you're a big horror buff, right?
Yes.
Okay, so um, the were you ever familiar with the White Zombie tribute album that came
Uh,
out in like '95 ish? Does that ring a bell
no,
to you?
no, it doesn't. No, there's a Ramones cover album that has Rob Zombie artwork on it, but I think that's not what you're talking about.
No, no.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like you get a bunch of third-rate bands, basically, metal bands, core bands, whatever, and they cover all these older White Zombie songs. And I want to say it came out in 95, 96, or whatever. To me, a majority of the album is pretty terrible.
Uh,
But there is do you know the song Blood Milk and Sky?
yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite White Zombie songs. Well, there is a cover on that, and it's by Silent Stream of a Godless Elegy. Dude, I'm telling you, make a note and fire that one up because that is a fantastic cover.
Okay.
It's so good. I mean, and especially for how dark a lot of the zombie stuff is, it it's almost creepier.
Okay. That
Like,
sounds cool.
it's good stuff. It really is. The original song has that, like, long delay, there's, like, a 6 or 7-minute dead space, because it's at the end of the album, but the cover doesn't, like, I think it just goes through the whole thing. It's still, like, a 5-minute song, but no, it's, yeah, definitely worth your time. I got to thinking about that. I actually added it to our notes, whenever we were doing, the cover songs one, but yeah. No, you say Big Yellow Taxi? Who
It was Counting Crows. I looked it
was it?
up
Ken
while
Chris?
yeah. I remember that being big when it first came out. I was surprised to hear it in the store today while I was shopping.
Yeah, I don't know. I
The That Ramones, the one that, like I said, there was that Ramones cover that I just mentioned with the Rob Zombie artwork on it. That had like big bands covering them though. Like Metallica did 53rd and Third, a really good cover of that.
Oh,
Marilyn Manson
really?
was on it. Yeah. Green Day did Outsider.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know where I am at with some of this stuff. I just, you know,
This was old. When did this come out? This came out in 2003,
is
apparently.
that the We're a Happy Family?
Yeah, yes it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to add this to my playlist.
Um, I picked up. I can't remember what it's called now, but I also picked up when it came out an Ozzy Osbourne box set, and one of the discs, it was like a 4 disc set, and one of the discs was just him doing covers, but they all sounded like really bad karaoke by Ozzy.
So pretty much, poor Ozzy when he was doing the show.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
was the I'm trying to think of some of the songs like the Beatles. And not in my life. I forget what. Yeah, it was bad. It was like a whole, like I said, a whole disc too. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at some of this Ramon stuff up, man. This looks pretty good.
It is really good, and somebody created a. I use Apple Music for my streaming. Somebody put together a playlist of the Ramones songs with the cover next to it, and it was just fantastic covers. It was really good.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've I'm a long time I use Google Play Music. It switched over to YouTube Music, and always amazes me whenever you kind of stumble upon some random live version of something
yeah,
that you really love, or just I got really big into Leonard Skinner over the last few years because just kind of sitting at the beach and man, it's just good beach music,
hmm
and found like a lot of these like the Criterion collection. So a lot of these songs I really like, and it's like wait, there's like two or three other versions of this, and they're 7 minutes instead of 3 minutes. Like it just and I really dig stuff like that, and I don't know, and I think that's one of the positives for the streaming services. I mean, you and I both know, man, there's nothing quite like going to the record shop and just
yeah.
kind of stumble upon gold. But man, with these services out there now, it's kind of the same thing, just in a 21st century kind of way. You just have something fall in your lap. It's interesting. Have you
Here it
had
is.
any?
I just found it. It was called Prince of Darkness was the box set, and we got covered. In My Life was the Beatles song I was trying to think of. That was horrible. He did a cover of Working Class Hero, which was okay. It wasn't great. And he did Changes with Kelly Osbourne, a duet, and that wasn't great either.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
was
can't imagine that was any
uh,
good.
Mississippi Queen. Mississippi Queen's I'm not a big fan of Mountain to begin with, so when he did Mississippi Queen, it still like he already took a song I didn't like and he made it worse.
Oh
But
God, man.
I like Ozzy in general though. I mean I had nothing against Ozzy, just I don't know why he was covering these songs
Yeah,
for money. But yeah.
yeah. I see the "Staying Alive" cover. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
He did oh he was something with Miss P. Was it Staying Alive or it was on the Muppets, I think. It must have
Yeah,
been.
this one says it was previously unreleased. It's on apparently disc 3 of the box set.
Uh
But it's a Bee Gees cover featuring Dweezil Zappa.
okay.
That's good. Uh, oh man. And speaking of the Bee Gees stuff, did you you listen to the Foo Fighters disco stuff from last year?
I didn't know.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of get it. It was kind of a to me it was kind of a goof, but yeah, that's interesting. It's funny looking through this Ozzy's box set though. I mean, the track listing's not bad.
No, it was a good like I said, I wasn't upset with it when I picked it up as a kid.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. Wow, that's pretty cool.
When I
Wow.
think back of all the money I spent on CDs.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Man, I worked for a year at a Toucan Do, which used to be in Pittman, then it moved to Sewell. And yeah, I think my paychecks just went straight for CDs.
Yeah.
Do you have any good I don't know, good finds like that you ever recall, through the years with music, just kind of like thumbing through something or yard sale, or just like you're like, oh man, I found this record or CD or whatever that was just like boom.
Well, I when I moved to PA a couple of years ago, my dad started listening to records again and collecting records, and he got me into it. And there's actually a record store maybe a mile from where I live, which is dangerous.
Yeah,
And
no doubt.
oh yeah, I'm trying to think. There was I never heard of Buffy Eve Saint Marie. I think that's her name. She's like I guess you'd call it folk music. But she claims, and I guess it's true because you can look it up, that she was kind of anti-government and a Native American, well, Canadian Native, whatever you want to call that. So she claims she was blacklisted from being played on the radio, and
Mhm.
her music's really good. So I found a couple of her albums.
Wow, yeah, I just looked her up. Wow, she's been around for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she played with her, or she may have had something to do with Mick Jagger, and I think that's how I originally heard of her. And then kind of just I came across her greatest hits or whatever you want to call it. I think it was her greatest hits album, and that was pretty cool.
Huh, yeah, she's actually someone. Wow, her music, wow, that's insane. Music has been recorded by Elvis, Neil Diamond, Cher, Donovan. I love Donovan.
Yeah.
Joe Cocker. Wow, Streisand. Man, that just Janis Joplin. That's a heck of a list. Dang.
The other one's not very. I mean, it's. I was going to bring up Carol King too, who isn't very. I mean, everyone kind of knows who she is, but you like a Tapestry I picked up not too long ago, and it's a fantastic album, and you kind of realize how big she is too. Like a lot of people have covered her songs, but then you realize that she sang them as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's another one. I would say that the credit's not there, but I think the credit is there.
Yeah.
Just not a. I don't know. I think it's just not something that's always on the front of everyone's mind. But
Hmm.
such a huge influence in music in general. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was looking up the Saint Marie stuff, man. It's wow. Yeah, she's still alive, 81 years old.
Yeah, and it's really good too. Her music. At least I think it was. I was entertained by it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
There was also it was shelved for a while, and I should probably look up what it was called, but it just came out on Blu-ray maybe 2 years ago. But it was a Rolling Stones concert that they did. Or actually, it wasn't a concert; it was a TV special, and it was them with some other bands, and they had Jethro Tull play, but Jethro Tull had um, Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath as their guitarist for the show,
Oh, no
and
kidding.
it was like one of the only shows he did with them. And then they had a super group with Mick Jagger and John Lennon play, and I forget they had a weird name for the band, but the whole show is really good,
That's
especially
all.
the Jethro Tull stuff. You
Man,
gotta,
you've got me adding notes left and right now.
yeah. Uh,
The
Rolling, it's like
let's
the
see.
Rolling Stones circus. It had a circus theme too, so like you had people come out and do the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus is what it was called. There you go, and it yeah, apparently they filmed it in '68, and I think it played on TV once, and then they released it in '96 initially. Like it played that one time and then was hidden for a while, and then just got released on Blu-ray not too long ago, and it looks amazing. It's actually on YouTube. You can find the whole HD concert.
Yeah, I think I found this.
Yeah,
The supergroup, temporary supergroup, John Lennon's The Dirty Mac.
that's it. Yes.
Yeah, Eric Clapton, Keith Richards, Mitch Mitchell, and John Lennon.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! Yeah, yeah, and it references the Rolling Stones. Yeah, references the TV special.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
Who
good.
and Jethro Tull. Yeah, wow, that's so cool. No kidding. Huh. Yeah, Lennon and Clapton later appeared together on the first Plastic Ono Band album. Yeah, I'll tell you what. And that's one thing that always fascinated me. So, my mom was a huge Beatles fan. She actually saw them when she was a kid in Shea Stadium. She was younger, 12, 13 years old, and big Paul McCartney fan. So, of course, my first concert when I was a kid, of course, I was like 7, ends up being Paul McCartney.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was just raised on that stuff, man. So I had a healthy dose of that growing up, and and I was always in awe of some of the people like the concert she got to go to. She went and saw the Doors, and she saw Hendrix and Janis Joplin, and just these iconic, one after the other acts. And
Yeah.
I go to think of myself, and it's like I've seen some really good bands, but I never could hold a candle to that. You
Yeah.
know, I just
My first show was later, but it was Page and Plant when they did that unleaded stuff in the
oh,
'90s.
dude.
That was because we saw it at the Spectrum, and my uncle, well, he was my, I guess he's still my uncle. He was my aunt's husband, but they got divorced. But they were still together when we went. He took me, and we not bootlegged. We bought tickets at the concert to get in, and we was the Spectrum had the seats were 360 degrees around. It's like a round thing, so we had closed seats, but they were rear view. So like you're kind of looking at the band's back,
Hmm.
but they turned around a lot. So I mean, it was a cool show for first show. It was a good show.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I can remember that my first time I set foot into the Spectrum was for Barnum and Bailey's.
Okay.
Oh boy, those days are long gone, aren't they?
Yeah, I saw a couple of not a cou- I saw one wrestling event at the Spectrum too, um, and that was cool.
You know, it's
WWF.
yeah, you know what's funny? My first wrestling show I went to ended up being at the Blackwood CYO, and it was an ECW show.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I never got to see EC. They were so close to it. Wish I would have went.
yeah, it was weird. So, I'd never been to a wrestling show, and it was kind of strange too because I was a big fan for growing up, and then I
Yeah,
I lost like everyone else, I kind of lost touch with it, and then I started picking up late night Saturday nights watching ECW.
exactly. Just on Channel 48 at like
Yeah,
sometimes 2 in the morning, sometimes whenever it was on. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's like whenever they would throw it on, so I got picking it up, and then it got me into other things, but it was my gateway back into wrestling.
yeah.
And, I was like, yeah, I remember telling my dad, I was like, "I wanna go to a show," and I was like 15 at the time, and, he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go with you 'cause I kinda, have an idea of what this is about." You know?
Mhm.
And, yeah, it was Blackwood CYO, and, we were 3rd row, and, the first experience we get, I think we're halfway through the show, and, Just Incredible, kinda whips, or no, Mikey Whipwreck, like, whips Just Incredible over the, guardrail. Of course, he flies all the way back and lands right on my dad's lap.
It
Uh,
We were far in the Spectrum, but the main event was Bret Hart versus Yokozuna.
oh, yeah, so
I
that'd been
remember that.
around 90, what, 93, 94.
Yeah, we were kids. It was me, my dad, and a friend of my dad and his kids. And we were far, but we were against the wall. And if you turned around and got on the back of your seats, wrestlers were standing there watching the matches, like behind us up on a platform. So we got to say hi to Coco Beware and George the Animal Steel were two of the people I remember seeing behind us. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
cool. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, that's
we
that
we got yelled at for standing on the seats from the usher guy, but it was cool. I still remember it. Like I said, so it was cool.
Yeah, yeah. That's a cool thing, like, concerts or any of those events that especially when you're
Yeah,
young too, because it's like, you're so impressionable,
yeah,
you really you do tend to remember, like, a lot of the stuff and, but it's funny going on the back on the music stuff though, I got to, really thinking about, some of these, concerts and stuff I went to. I mean, I really didn't go to anything until I was probably in high school, after,
yeah,
the Paul McCartney or any, like, little stuff that I would see that I'm sure there were, like, no names. But then I went to a lot of those festivals, I went to the
yeah.
Y100 Festival and Ozfest a couple times, and, so I got to see some pretty big acts, but, just not in a small venue like I would have preferred. And,
Mhm.
when I was a kid or younger, I really enjoyed that atmosphere. I mean, you couldn't pay me enough now to go to anything with 20,000 people. I just
In college, I went to Rutgers and I worked for the help desk there, and they had it must have been some kind of plan with the East. I mean, they would give away tickets every once in a while, but you'd have to like email in. And because I was sitting at a computer in front of my email, um, I won tickets to see Kiss for
oh.
their farewell tour, in quotes. I'm making the air quotes. Um,
Yeah,
the
which farewell
it
tour?
was the last time they played with uh, wow, Ace and
Oh, Ace Frehley and,
yeah, and the drummer. I can't think of his name right now.
oh, yeah,
But Ted Nugent opened up for him at the E Center, and the tickets were pretty close. They were like 3 or 4 rows back from the like under the canopy in the E Center,
yeah,
and it
dude,
was a
that's
good
up
show. I
there.
mean, Kiss isn't my favorite band, but they put on a great stage show. And Ted Nugent, who I don't agree with politically or anything at all, he did a good show too. He shot a flaming arrow at his guitar at the end to
Oh,
kind of
that's
like
cool.
sacrifice it. Yeah,
That's
which it
cool.
is sounds stupid when you say it out loud, but when you're like a kid and you're watching it, or high school, I guess I wasn't a kid, but that was 20 some years ago at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
the same thing happened to me. I worked at a law firm too, and the law firm they'll subscribe to box offices, so they get tickets that they give away to clients. And if there's ever a show where they couldn't give away tickets, they'd make them available to the staff.
Oh,
And they
nice.
had um, it was Slayer Manson again at the E Center, and for some reason, none of their clients wanted Marilyn Manson tickets. And me and another guy, the guy was older than me, but he was going for Slayer, and I was going for was a big Manson fan at the time, and that was a cool show.
Yeah, I was gonna.
That was awesome.
I was gonna say. I was hoping you were gonna say that because to this day, I got to see Manson at one of the Oz Fests, and like I said, I can't speak to the music. I like the
Yeah.
music, but I can't speak to say that that was like, oh, this is the best music I've ever heard. Not like that. As a showman,
Oh
oh
yeah,
my
the shows are
goodness.
awesome. Yes.
I mean, I always say this, like to me, it's like a Britney Spears or a
Yeah.
Cher or someone that can just perform like a madman on stage
Hmm.
and just really entertain the crowd. And at, Manson he tells a story. I mean,
Yeah.
that whole I think I got him for like 45 minutes was all, and I was hooked, man. It was so good, so good. Uh, Manson was better than I think Manson was second to because both Ozfest I went to were both Black Sabbath. It wasn't just Ozzy,
Okay.
and Manson blew Black Sabbath out of the water. I mean, you know, um, I saw Iron Maiden too at one of those.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed because I uh, I thought they were going to get into more stuff that I was familiar with, and they were just they were playing like stuff off like a newer album that I
Gotcha.
had no
Yeah.
idea, and for the most of it, and I wasn't like it wasn't bad,
Hmm.
but it wasn't like what I was used to,
I
you
gotcha.
know.
Yeah. I saw Aerosmith for the Nine Lives tour, and they did most of the stuff off the newer albums too. And I was just kind of like, I don't know any of this, but it's pretty good. But it's not, the Nine Lives. I think well, were not a lot different, but it was different than their older stuff. Like it was a little heavier, I guess.
Yeah, and I get it because
Yeah.
bands get burnt out on. Well, there's kind of a twofold thing. They get burnt out on playing the same stuff over and over and over again. But then two, it's like they're trying to promote like the new stuff. They try to
Yeah.
sell the record. I get that, especially like bands like that, like Maiden or Aerosmith, or
Yeah.
like someone like the Rolling Stones or anyone like that. It's like, people are gonna get it no matter what. So they're like, we're gonna play this. So shut up.
Yeah. Once I started driving though, I would go to I went to a lot of shows at the Trocadero, a lot of like just indie punk shows and stuff like that. And then Kevin Seconds from 7 Seconds and Kepi Gooley from the Groovy Ghoulies started touring and doing like almost an acoustic version of their punk songs and then like new stuff. And I went to a show at a record store in Bordentown that
Ooh,
it was Kepi Gooley was playing, so I went there to go see that. But the headliner was David Johansen from the New York Dolls, who was
oh
also
yeah,
Buster Poindexter, the hot guy.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh, I was horrible. I wound up walking out, and I stayed for the Kepi Gooley, and then listened to a couple of songs by David Johansen, and it's like, well, that's not your New York Dolls songs. I don't know what this is, so I'm gonna kind of just. I left. I was horrible. But at the same store, I forget the name of the record store, but it was like an hour drive from where I lived at the time, so it wasn't terrible. On uh, Memorial Day one year, they had Joe Jack Talcum from the Dead Milkmen. He was playing a solo show, and we went to it, and there was the opening act, Guy's family, and me, and we were the only people that showed up for the show. And they still went on and performed, and
No kidding.
it was cool. It was a interesting thing, and I brought a Big Lizard in the Bad Dead Milkman album to get signed, and that was cool. So that was fun.
That's awesome. It's like a private show.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Wow.
Later on, the Dead. When I say later on, like 2 or 3 years ago, there was that going back to covers. Dr. Demento put out an album called Covered in Punk,
Hmm.
which was just a pile of punk bands covering random Dr. Demento songs. But the Dead Milkmen did a cover of Lydia the Tattooed Lady on the album, and they were doing a signing with Dr. Demeno at a record store in Bryn Mawr. So I got the record signed by the other remaining Dead Milkmen band guys.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you know the Dead Men. They're just a local Philly band. They've
Yeah,
become
yeah,
broke.
yeah,
A big,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
Um,
no, I'm certainly familiar with them. I
when I worked in the city, I worked down the street from Long in the Tooth was the record store on Samson, and Rodney Anonymous, the lead singer, or one of the lead singers, I guess Joe Jack Talcum was another one. He would be in there all the time, and he worked at a. I worked at a law firm, and he worked at a competing law firm in the same area, doing something similar to what I was doing. So I got to talk to him a little bit while he was there.
yeah,
But anyway, the Dr. Demeno signing, it was the Dead Milkmen, Dr. Demeno, and then sitting next to Dr. Demeno was this really old, large man who I had no idea who he was. And it turned out he was Napoleon the third one. I forget the number it was, but it was the songs "They're Coming to Take Me Away Again." I don't know if you ever heard of that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To the Funny Farm, he sang that,
No
and he was
kidding.
just yeah, like must have I don't know, I would say 90, but maybe in his 80s. But that was a cool signing.
Yeah,
It was
no,
fun.
so it's funny though, a lot of the like punk ska core genre stuff for me, I went to a lot of shows up in North Jersey
Okay.
because a friend that I grew up with, he had moved up there. Or his parents moved up there, and he obviously went with him because he was like 10.
Mhm.
But so I kept visiting him though, and we went to all these shows. I can't remember like really seeing anyone of name, but I was so familiar with like the scene in our area. But I got really big in this, more particularly the ska scene in the late '90s,
Yeah.
because that was like obviously the thing to do. But it was cool because I could see like the Toasters and some of these other bigger acts at the time, but in very small settings.
Gotcha.
And years later, I actually went back, and when I say small, I mean we're talking no seats, it was dance floor only,
Yeah.
with a bar. You know, probably by fire code you could fit 1,000 people.
Mhm. Well, that's
But
like the truck. I don't know if you've ever been in there or not, but that was a cool venue. It used to be a burlesque house in Chinatown in
that's
Philly,
right, that's right.
and
Yeah,
it's closed now, which is sad. But they did a lot of hardcore shows, just like the same thing you're saying, like the ska kind of stuff. Like I
yeah,
saw Sick of Them All, their hardcore band. You probably saw in North Jersey. They're from New York, I think.
yeah. I was trying to think some of the looking back and then really thinking, a lot of more ska ones come to mind, like the
Yeah.
Pilfers, and then more of
Okay.
the kind of the core ish, like Orange 9mm really sticks out. They were fun to see.
Yeah.
But then a lot of like locals, but the guys that like one of my favorites is One Cool Guy, and they end up kind of turning into like Catch 22 and Streetlight Manifesto and some of these other more popular bands. A lot of the guys kind of evolved into
Gotcha.
those over the years. But years later though, I went back to the same venue and saw Wasp and Metal Church. So
That's cool.
yeah, so that
Um,
was fun.
did a lot of shows at the Unitarian Church in Philadelphia too. They had two spots in there. You could either go in the basement, which was a much bigger venue, and I think I saw Stretch Armstrong there and a couple other. Again, the Dead Milkmen played there once, and it was kind of cool. But then they also had their chapel where you could do a show, and I saw Kevin Seconds there, and Kepi and Vic Rugio from I think the Slackers,
Okay.
and that was a cool because you're sitting, like I said, you're sitting in a small chapel, so it's like maybe 100 people,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
the stained glass and stuff around you. So that was
Oh, that's cool.
a neat venue, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I saw, I think in the basement they did a Henry Rollins did a spoken word thing, and that was cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, his stuff. I saw him a couple of times. He would talk for like 3 hours, and I really like Henry Rollins. So I was like, it felt like no time at all. 3 hours of him just talking.
Yeah. I never got to see Henry, but
Yeah,
yeah, I always had an utmost respect for him.
yeah.
The dude was one of those guys that I always thought, like, if I ever met in the street, that he would beat the crap out of me.
Yes. Well, he did a signing at Dancing Ferret Records in on South Street, and I was waiting in line, and he just came walking down the street like he either got off a train or got off a bus and walked to the venue and just kind of said hi to all of us as we were waiting in line, and went in and took a seat
Oh,
as they brought us in.
that's cool.
It was very cool.
Yeah, and I got to thinking back too, when I was, it was right around the same time I was seeing a lot of the ska, maybe a little after. The same venue was, but this time there was a long wait to get in, and we were told that it was a $10 show. There's four bands, but the top two on the card, I don't remember the openers, and frankly, I don't remember them because there was such a long line. We didn't get in until it was Dropkick and H2O,
Okay.
and so the crazy thing is that they doubled the price as we're standing in line. And so the tickets were like $10 to $20. I could be wrong. It might have been 20 to 40. I have no idea.
Mhm.
But they doubled the price. We get in, and lead singer for Dropkick, when they get on, they go, "We heard these guys doubled the price when you all were waiting in line." They're like, "That's bullshit." And they have this wad of cash, and they just throw it out to the crowd.
Ah,
And I've never seen people go more bananas in my life at a concert. And like I'm like 16, 17 years old, and I'm just trying to like stay away as far as I
gotcha.
possibly can because it was like mosh pit times 100. People
Yeah,
going after like $5
money.
bills.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. I I'd done my fair share of that, and I was never the kind of person that'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna get in the middle of a pit, and then you throw a bunch of money out there. It's like,
Yeah.
oh boy. It
I
was interesting.
I remember seeing one of the two craziest pits. Was Sick of It All was one of it because they're just super hardcore punk, and that was the first time I ever saw they called it a wall of death. I don't know if it's a common term or not, but they separate the pit, half against one wall, half against the other all, and then at the count of three, everyone just runs into the middle and smacks into each other.
Oh,
And then Pennywise, I remember seeing Pennywise, and they had a huge. But for Pennywise, they had a band called Guttermouth open for them, and
mhm.
I wound up liking them more than Pennywise, and I started picking up some of their records, now their stuff on vinyl that they had out when they started.
Yeah, I started listening to Pennywise probably in the mid '90s. It was right when I think it was About Time. It was the
Yeah,
album with the dynamite on the cover.
yeah.
And I started going back and listening to the previous stuff in their catalog, and I always thought they were a solid band, but then after a while, some of that stuff just got, I think it was after Full Circle, which I think
Mm.
came out in '97. That was the one with the tribute to the one guy that died, the bassist, I think, that died. I can't remember. Jason Matthew Thirsk. I don't know why I remember stuff like that. But he's one of the band members. I thought he was a bassist, but he died. But after that, it was like I don't know that they got. I can't say commercialized is the wrong word, but it just never really. It wasn't the same.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Now, so we're talking about some of these others. Were you big into like the Descendants and All and those
I did like the Descendants. Yeah. Then I was just thinking it was along with wow. I'm sorry, I had some was drinking, so but we were just Pennywise, Less Than Jake. I remember seeing them a couple of times. Um, Bad Religion. I was into them a lot. I never got to see No Effects, but I had all their albums.
Yeah, I never
Um,
saw them either, and I love No Effects. That was
yeah,
one I missed. I saw Less Than Jake once. I could not tell you where I saw them, but I saw them. I just,
yeah.
I don't know that they opened at a festival that I went to, or they were like an act at a festival. I just remember seeing them. Never saw Bad Religion. Always wanted to. Bad Religion was funny. I really like Bad Religion at different times. Like they really enjoy the early stuff. And I don't know, did you ever listen to like the really, really early stuff, like the Into the Unknown? Um,
Um, I don't remember to be honest with you.
it
It's
was more like synth, almost synth pop. Like
No, no,
his
then definitely not. The stuff I listened to was definitely more uh, punk pop,
yeah, if
that
you
kind
can
of
find
stuff.
it,
Yeah,
you'll understand what I mean. It's very very interesting.
gotcha. I never got to see them live. I don't know if you've ever listened to Alien Sex Fiend, like
uh,
dark. I don't know what you call them, dark wave. I guess it'd be dark wave. Again, synth kind of stuff.
yeah, no, it doesn't ring a bell.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of times where I probably have heard something and
yeah, I
I
just don't
can't
remember.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
remember. Like, I listened to all this stuff. I mean, this is the stuff we grew up on, and now when I listen to music, it's like The Dead, or I was just listening to some old Aerosmith.
yeah, isn't that funny? Because I was the
Yeah.
same way. Like I listened to a lot of, especially when I was, in middle school, like just into high school.
Mhm.
A lot of Bad Religion, a lot of Rancid, and a lot of hell, we just said it
Green
Pennywise.
Green Day.
A lot of Green Day. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I was more into probably Green Day's like older stuff,
Mhm.
like anything prior to Dookie. So like I loved
Gotcha.
Kerplunk and the 1039 or whatever that was, smoothed out,
No,
slappy
no doubt.
hours.
I got big into No Doubt,
Yeah,
and
I
then I think Rocksteady is when I stopped. Like, this isn't No Doubt anymore. I don't know what this is.
yeah, that was when I was like kind of always like I always enjoyed it, but I was never like, I wasn't going to go out of my way. And
Yeah.
I don't know, then things just changed. But yeah, and that's funny because I've lived down here so long now. That's why I was like, yeah, I just love Leonard Skinner. It's just, it's funny, it just how you kind of,
No, Leonard Skinner. They besides Freebird, Simple Man is awesome. There's that great cover of Simple Man by Shinedown. I think it's Shinedown. That's good. But they
yeah,
also have it was the song where they're he's talking about this black blues guitar player, and I can't think of the name, but it's like they were playing it on the radio for a while, and I got really into it for a little bit. This is a great song.
yeah. I see. I really dig my
Yeah.
favorite is Street Survivors. I just love that album. It's got that
Okay.
smell on it, and just a bunch of other just really top notch songs.
See, I never. My dad used to make fun of me because I would always say that I still don't really listen to country music that much, but I'll listen to Southern rock. He's like, that's
Yeah,
just country, right? Like, no, it's not. It's rock. Like, I got big into the Almonds for a while, and then I picked up
yeah,
a couple of things. Like, this is really good. He's like,
yeah.
no, that's just country, right? Like, no, no, it's not.
That's one thing. Like
Yeah.
if there's one genre that I just will not touch, is the current country. I do enjoy some of the older.
I was I was shocked when I found out Darius Rucker, the guy from
Yeah, Hootie.
Hootie
Yeah,
became a he's a
yeah,
country musician. Like, what?
yeah,
What?
yeah, and a pretty popular one at
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Yes, he is. Yeah.
It's just it's wild. No, I think because just being here,
It's
no
just
matter where
around.
you
Yeah.
go, yeah, and
I
it's never
gotcha.
my thing. And don't get me wrong, like some of the stuff is great. Like, hey, let's have a beer and
Mm,
it's kind of in the background. I'm not going to complain. Like I enjoy music, so it's not going to be like,
yeah.
oh, I hate this. I'm just going to run away from it.
No, you're right. I think if I was more exposed to it, I would probably listen to it more.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go out of my way,
Yeah.
to dive into it. Did
Um,
you ever get into any of the like as we're just like diving full on head into just random music now? Any kind of techno or any of that,
no,
electronic type?
I had friends that tried to get me into it, and I remember trying to listen to Skrillex and just not understanding it at all. Like, this isn't for me. I did start getting into um I guess you'd get rap hip hop. Like, I never listened to that as a kid, and then
Mhm.
somebody at work started to like, you should check this out. You should check this out, and I started listening to Ice Cube, who I never like really paid it. I would listen to the Beastie Boys because they were safe white music, and then like, well, you should check this out, and they're like, oh, this is like early Ice Cube stuff. The NWA, Public Enemy, Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg, like that stuff. I never listened to when it first came out, but like in the last couple of years, I've been listening to it more, and I can kind of, I just, I guess, see where they're coming from. Like, as a kid, I always thought it was loud and violent in a different way than the punk stuff that I would listen to was loud and violent. Like they're all talking about guns and drugs and stuff like that. And as you kind of understand what was happening at the times and like see what they're going through, you understand. I guess it makes more sense, is what I'm saying.
Right, right. No,
Um,
no, I get you.
and
No,
Biggie, I really, I know he's only had like 2 or 3 albums before he died, but I just um, the Notorious B.I.G. that Juicy and whatever the other albums are fantastic albums. They're just
oh yeah.
wonderful. Yeah,
I got big into I was big into rap, and I still am too. But again, nothing new. I just
yeah.
I don't care. I couldn't tell you one new rapper if I
I was like, you know how Facebook shows you those are your memories, and a memory that came up. I guess I must have been from the Grammys. Was what the fuck's a Cardi B? I still haven't listened to a Cardi B album or anything like that, but it's just that whole commercial with her doing a curve and stuff. I don't get it. I
ah,
can try. I tried listening to the first, going back to, I don't, it's not techno or electronic, but going back and listening to the first Billie Eilish album when that came out, I didn't like that much. Bad Guy's a cool song, but the rest of the album I didn't enjoy. But her new one, I thought was fantastic. But that's more of a almost Amy Winehouse kind of soul. I don't know what you'd call it. Um,
yeah, that's a good
but
way to
yeah,
put it.
yeah, I
Yeah,
like that more.
yeah. It's funny
But I
you
have a
know
friend that goes to that. I forget what the name of the big EDM thing in New York, or not in New York. The desert. Uh,
oh
the Daisy Festival, or I forget exactly what it's.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
know yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't
I'm
know what
just
it's called
man.
either.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know I got big into that stuff. Not into like the I don't know, like, I was kinda like you, like, it took me a little bit to there's a couple Skrillex songs that I like, but to me, that's still, like, the new
yeah,
stuff. But I like a lot of these sub acts too, like, I love, there's a techno group out there called Savant, and they do a lot of like, everything sounds like a video game theme. So, like and a lot of their stuff is very heavily based on video games. So it's fun to me because it's like listening to a soundtrack.
well, that's like
Um
the Goth Sickles, but I think they're more like a punk thing. But that's the same thing. It's kind of like 8-bit music mixed with uh, punk rock, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, and you have these like different. I don't know. I've always also been into like just big into just soundtracks and stuff like that in general. I one of the oddball sicknesses that I have was collecting wrestling themes over the years. Now I never always hard to really come up with on albums or CDs, but
Yeah,
there's people that would curate these lists and put them together and um, you know you learn really quickly that there are some really interesting things like going back and like listening to like the Undertaker's theme and it's like oh yeah you realize it's changed over the years but you don't realize it's changed 40 times over the years
yeah,
and it's just really interesting that it's like yeah at any given time it's like yeah I think I want to listen to version 32. It's crazy to me but um yeah no I just got really big into that and then um just sound like I said soundtrack music in general whether it's from a show or a movie or whatever I certainly respect it because I think sometimes just like popping that in especially if it's something from like a good movie
mhm,
or a good show or a good game or whatever just kind of reminds me of playing it or watching it
I gotcha.
so I do like that stuff
Like
but
last record store day, they came out with the expanded Hackers soundtrack on vinyl, and that was cool.
oh nice
Yeah.
nice.
And then they re-released the Crow soundtrack, which was just an awesome soundtrack to begin with, on vinyl a couple of years ago too.
Oh yeah,
Love The
yeah.
Cure, the big fan of that guy, The Cure and the Smiths.
Yeah, oh, dude. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm with you on the. I'm with you on the Smiths for sure, man. That
yeah,
big. It's funny that kind of reminds me though too, and this could be a whole nother thing. We'll have to talk with Bob on this one, but you know, I don't know if it's enough to do it, but you think of these some of these movies that have these soundtracks that were terrible movies, but just amazing soundtracks.
yes.
and there's a couple that always will stick with me. I mean, Batman Forever is a case in point example for that one. Just a
Is that the one that had Kiss from a Rose?
mhm, and a
Okay.
bunch of other good music too. Um, it and there's another what is that one? I don't know that the whole soundtrack is good, but I don't know about the movie itself, but there's a good Nine Inch Nails Reznor song. I think it's on Lost Highway.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, it was one
Yeah.
of the first things he did the score to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That whole thing, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, but I don't know about the movie. I don't remember ever seeing the movie, be honest with you.
It was a David. I mean, it's David Lynch. I mean, if you like his stuff, you'll like it. If not, you won't. I don't remember much about it, but I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, I just don't I know I haven't seen
Gotcha.
it,
Yeah,
or if I did, it's been
I think it's David Lynch. Like I'm like 99% sure.
let's see. Let's consult the Googs. How about that? For, now that we've gone down this road.
Uh,
Yep, David Lynch.
okay,
Yep.
cool. Yeah, he did like Blue Velvet, and the big one was Eraserhead.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and Twin Peaks. He also did the Twin Peaks series.
Okay. I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was going to say going back to soundtrack, and it's not. I guess it's a soundtrack album. I never listened to Prince until maybe 2 years ago, and I watched Purple Rain for the first time, which is a awesome movie that I recommend. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's a fun watch. It's one of those kind of things. But you got Morris Day and the Time in it too.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
the evil band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I guess you would call it a soundtrack album. It'd also be a cover thing, I guess. But there was that movie in the '70s of Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which
Oh,
is where you get Aerosmith doing "Come Together,"
yeah, that's right, that's
uh,
right.
and that starred instead of the Beatles, it was the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton as Sergeant Pepper's in the band.
That's right. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, no,
Aerosmith played the evil villain band in that.
it's funny, the Prince thing that you what you just mentioned, that's funny.
Yeah.
And not that I grew up on Prince at all, but, like, the music was always there.
Hmm.
I was always a fan, but just not, I don't know. I always thought it was kinda funny, kinda went out of to me, and I don't mean to equate the 2, but, um, in the same vein for me, it was like Michael Jackson. Like, I knew the music was good, but I just never went out of my way to listen because I was not much of a fan of either.
No, you're right. Yeah, I think I mean Thriller was a huge album when we were kids, and I know I listened to that song. I've seen the video where he turns into a werewolf, but other than that, you're right. I was never a huge Michael Jackson guy either.
Yeah, I knew this stuff's good, and like I said, I'm never gonna be the kind of person that's like just dogs anyone that like I'm not gonna sit here and dog like a Britney Spears or somebody because I know they're
Hmm.
talented. I know they're a good musician. I know, the same thing for Michael Jackson, Prince, whoever.
Yeah.
Not my cup of tea.
Yep.
You
I
know,
understand. Yeah.
and and I say that in the sense of it's like for me anyway, it's kind of like how I don't listen to like current country. I was never gonna listen to just pop music ever. Like there's just not I I cannot tell you that the last time that as if I'm just driving myself, I will never have the radio on. Like I always listen to whatever I have, through my playlists
No, I
or,
gotcha.
well, Bob doesn't because he won't listen to this one. But I listen to our own podcast sometimes to make sure the audio quality is
Okay.
good. um,
Yeah, I used to
yeah,
have an hour and a half commute like one way, and I would listen to just like at the time I had for a while satellite radio, so I was listening to some of the stuff there. Um, but yeah, podcasts and just playlists more than anything else.
yeah, and I think we'd be remiss without saying this. We are recording this on the day that Gilbert Gottfried passed away, and I just want to,
It's a shock.
yeah, that was a young 67 years old.
Uh,
And I know you threw a text out earlier um, saying that you would listen to his podcasts.
yeah, well,
And
he I love old Hollywood, and so did he. So like, if you're listening to his podcast, he would have people like that were experts in the Marx Brothers that wrote like biographies on them. He just had, like I said, I don't know. The last couple of shows they had were repeats. They called them classics. So I was reading that he was sick for a while with this heart. It sounded like it was just I don't know if it was a birth defect, but it was some kind of heart disease that actually killed him,
Mm.
or that he died from. But he had like this guy that was doing a stage show of Groucho Marx, and it was just on PBS last week. So he did the interview with that guy. So it couldn't have been that long ago that they recorded that. But he would also have like before John Aston was on there a couple of years ago, who's also still alive. He's like 92 now.
Yeah,
And
that's wild.
he had the kids, like Bela Lugosi's son was on it, and the daughter of Vincent Price would be on there. He would have like guests like that. Billy West was on it a couple of times. The voice of Ren and Stimpy.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, he would have guests like that, and it was always fun to listen to, because it was he would do it all in his Gilbert Godfrey character. So it's the guy that the voice. He had a co-host who I never heard of, and just yeah, they would come on there and they would talk about old Hollywood. He would do his impressions of an old Bela Lugosi or an old Groucho Marx, and yeah, it was just an entertaining podcast. And I guess still in my podcast feed, it'll live there forever next to Roddy Piper's podcast, which was also fantastic. And I listened to that up until he passed away. So there's
Yeah.
like a disease section now, I guess, on my podcast
Yeah,
app.
I was gonna say you're gonna have to you have to refold with them, I
Retire
guess.
it.
Yeah, it is it that one, it sucks. I really thinking about this, and I saw a picture thrown out there on Twitter, and it was Gilbert Godfrey, Bob Saget, Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, I
And
love Norm Macdonald. Norm
oh, me
Macdonald's like a
too.
favorite. Yeah, that was a shock.
Yeah, and
The Amazing Jonathan too. I don't know if you ever like, he was a comedy
yeah,
magician.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
he passed
another
away
one.
recently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just crazy. And everyone's just really young.
yeah.
I
Well,
knew Norm Macdonald was fighting his
Gilbert Godfrey had young kids too, like teenage kids.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which I know that tends to happen with
Mhm.
the Hollywood
Yeah.
folks. They kind of settle down later in life, but
Although he wasn't old either, so I mean, it's like, this is not unheard of for him to have young kids. But
no,
yeah,
no, no. Yeah, just crazy. He was 67 years old, actually, and just turned 67.
yeah.
Today is his. Oh no, I'm sorry. No,
Oh,
just turned 67 back on February 28th. I'm sorry, I was
okay,
looking at that
gotcha.
wrong. But yeah, just right, not that long ago. So, but no, uh, very, very, very shocked to hear that one too, and just I don't know, that sucks. That's it's one of those deals. Bob and I did an entire one on John Madden, and you really don't think about how much influence a person would have. And I'm not
Yeah,
saying Gilbert Godfrey had that kind of influence, but man, he was interweaved into everything. From stuff with Aladdin and all of his stand-up stuff over the years that I know you've seen, I've seen.
yeah.
That like we just talked about this podcast. I mean, all the commercials that he's done, and going back to even a movie like Problem Child.
Mhm.
I mean, the dude he was involved in a lot, and he just definitely sucks. Um,
I'm glad I wasn't a guest when you guys did John Madden, because the only thing I know from him is his cover stuff for Madden football.
yeah, dude, we got an hour out of
Uh,
that. Oh man, we need to finish this one up on a positive note. Though we're not going to finish it up with Gilbert Godfrey. Let's go with. Do you have anything, since we kind of did a whole thing on music here, and I realized that like neither you or me are like gonna say, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this
uh,
new album. But is
uh,
there like a re-release or
well, there's a
a
couple things I guess I could mention real quick. Last month, maybe February, not too long ago, Ian Anderson just put out a new Jethro Tull album. I don't know if it's any of the other bandmates or band members or just him. But the album itself is fantastic, and I mean, it's just really. I wouldn't expect an only old Ian Anderson to put out such a good album. Um, and I should look up the name of the album on here. But it was really good. I mean, he's still doing his flute stuff and stuff like that, but it's just like I said, it was great. And then a couple of years ago, I discovered the Tiny Desk concerts on NPR, and they have a YouTube site where they have all of their concerts put up there. And it's just they bring them into the office, and they have somebody do a couple of songs, and it's anyone from local indie guys to like big names. Like they had Cat Stevens come in and do a couple of songs not too long ago. Um, and he also put out a couple. Like he was going for. I like Cat Stevens a lot. He I guess in the '70s decided to become a Muslim and decided that he couldn't play music anymore because that put him above God, and that's not something you could do in the. And then people convinced him that God gave you. Anyway, he came back and put out a couple of albums, and it's really good. Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead um, has a band that tours, and they did one of the Tiny Desk concerts, and it was fantastic. Like it's one of them things that I just go back and watch every couple of weeks because it makes me happy. Bob Weir and the Wolf Brothers, and they have this harpist, Michaela Davis, who's fantastic. And then they also have one of the, I don't want to say it's one of the last, but they had the Cranberries on there before Dolores, uh, I forget her last name, before she passed
Yeah,
away.
yeah, that's right.
And
Yeah, I
that's,
forgot about her dying
Bob
too.
doesn't like the Cranberries. I like the Cranberries a lot. So I thought that was cool. Um,
Yeah, no, I,
and
I,
it's
no,
just like I
I
said,
dig him too. So
yeah, it's one of them things. Just YouTube in general, like when I got rid of cable a while ago, and I kind of stream everything now. So I started paying for YouTube to be ad free because I got sick of seeing the same ads over and over and over again.
hmm
So I'll just pop on one music video and have it play whatever else it suggests. And I'll sit there and I'll grab, a beer or a whiskey or whatever, and it'll show me. Like I almost want to call it like the Rich Gregorio Puberty Collection because it'll start with Cyndi Lauper and then go into the Cranberries and then Jewel and then the B-52s. Like I love. Oh, I'm drunk now. I can't think of her name, but the redhead from the B-52s. She also did uh, Shiny Happy People with Rem and Candy with Iggy Pop. And I don't know why I can't think of her
yeah.
name,
What is her
but yeah.
name?
But in
I know exactly what you're talking about too,
yeah,
and I just yeah.
the Jethro Tull album that I was talking about is called The Zealot Gene, and that's really good. Oh, and because my dad got me into all these bands, everyone's having a 50th um, anniversary of their albums now. So there's a lot of remixes coming out, and one of them earlier last year was this album Deja Vu by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and the remix they did on that is fantastic. Like it's just super clear, a beautiful remix, and they re-released that on like vinyl and streaming, and it's fantastic. It's like a perfect album too.
Yeah,
Deja Vu. Yeah,
and it's funny you mentioned the music videos on YouTube that is kind of they curate the list going one right after the
yeah.
other. I kind of do that, but I do that with the music side of YouTube, so just the audio,
Okay, yeah,
and I love it because they do such a good job of like the minute that you throw a song on, and they kind of curate it with your other likes and putting together like they call it a super mix
yeah,
playlist, and it just does it to me. It's phenomenal. They really do a good job of it, and that gets me through a lot of drives.
yeah.
I dig it a lot, and they do a great job with that. So no, and
Oh,
that's the nice
and
thing. I don't know, like you said you pay for the ad free stuff
yeah.
that because that I don't know how it separates now, but I know the ad free stuff you should get music YouTube
I
service.
do get the music for
Yeah,
free.
yeah.
It's just I'm so ingrained in the Apple stuff that I
Right,
haven't
right,
really. Yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah. I got you. Okay. Yeah. No, it's funny. The as I look back and I think about, you know, I don't really I don't really look forward to something. I just find something that's out there. And so like I know you're the same way. Like something could be new to you
Mm,
that was released 20 years ago,
yeah.
or whatever, or you found it like, oh, this
There's great documentaries coming out too. There was just that Beatles documentary that I forget what that was. It on Apple TV? I forget what that was on, but that was fantastic.
was that the one that was on Disney? It's on Disney
It was
Plus, isn't
Disney
it?
Plus. That's
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yes, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. There was a Zappa documentary on Amazon that was done by Bill from Bill and Ted. I can't think of the actor's name,
The
and that was really good.
the blonde one.
Yeah. There was also a vampire in Lost Boys. I can think of the movie names, but I can't think of his name. And then there was I've only watched the beginning of it, but it was the guy from Blind Melon. He like filmed a lot of his stuff, like just in general, like before it was vlogging, he would just have a video camera with him, and that was really good. It was really good if you like Blind Melon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the some songs it was one they're one I it
Shannon Hoon.
took me a long time to warm up to.
Gotcha. Okay.
But now I'm there with them now. I just no,
Yeah.
it sucks. I really haven't watched a lot of good music documentaries lately, or of any. I've just been
The
watching.
the Zappa one's really good if you like Zappa.
I have to check that out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just really haven't watched a whole lot of good music ones. I've been, if I do throw something on that's not a live event, watching sports or whatever, but the I do love watching just just general like history or geography type stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm big into like abandoned stuff. So I love like urban decay and looking at some of those sorts of
Okay.
things. So that's kind of my wheelhouse right now is what I've been stuck on. So
Gotcha.
I watch a lot of Discovery Plus. There's just so much good stuff on that. But one of these days I'll find my way back into some good music ones because you're right. There's a ton of them, and I know my boss and I go back and forth because he's always like, yeah, you got to watch this thing about Motley Crue. You got to watch this thing about this or that. It's like too much stuff. Give me some time.
Yeah, Kate Pearson was the redhead from B-52s.
Oh, okay, okay, there you
Yeah.
go. I know it's probably driving you nuts.
Yes, it was.
Oh man, dude, this is fun. We can't tell
Yeah.
Bob it was this fun.
Uh,
We'll now we'll definitely be doing this again,
going
obviously, because now you're part of the team.
going
Uh,
back to Urban Decay, there's this YouTube channel I found called like the worst streets in America or something, where they just drive down streets, and there's like a whole series of them driving down K&A in Philadelphia, like all the drug users and stuff like that, just on the street. It's scary stuff.
the thing
What's
that really got me into it, there's a website, and it's older, and I don't know that it's updated anymore because it looks the same as it did like years ago. But there's a website, Detroit Urbex. It's the word Detroit, the city name, and then urbex.com. And just all these pictures of like, the parts of Detroit that were falling in. And it certainly may be different now. Stuff may be demolished or whatever. That's what got me into it. And then I found over the years like a show called Mysteries of the Abandoned and some other things too. There's like other abandoned shows out there, and just following like different accounts and stuff and looking at really a lot of it's just like I love looking at pictures, reading the story, but I love hearing
yeah.
about it too. So
Well, that was like I guess they still. I don't know if they still make it or not. But when we were kids, there was that weird New Jersey magazine where they
yeah,
would tell you
exactly.
about all the yeah
Yep. Yeah, I have the books.
yeah.
They had a I think they came out 2 volumes of that book wise.
Mm,
Um, yeah, no, it's cool. Like there's just I don't know, it's just different.
yeah.
It's I think a lot of it too for us because Chernobyl happened, when we were kids,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of that to me is just fascinating. And it's a lot of very similar stuff. So, but no, we'll no, this was fun, man. We'll chalk this up as a win.
Okay,
You,
cool.
you got anything good to close us out with?
Kind of rambly.
It's fun.
No. I've been drinking KBS espresso,
Nice.
and it's very good. It's very strong. So you'll notice as we go on a little longer, it got a little yeah,
Dude, that I love it. Dude, the KBS stuff's just
yeah.
fantastic. Been drinking some Makers and Coke tonight.
Okay,
I didn't
Makers is
feel it.
good.
Yeah, I didn't feel like going back. I did place a Trillium Brewing order today. I don't know if you're familiar with them,
No,
in Massachusetts, and Trillium can they ship out, and one of the states they ship out to is Kentucky.
okay,
And there's only like 8 states they ship out to. I guess it's based off laws.
yeah,
Um, but man, I tell you what, there's not one thing I've had from them that's been bad. Even their like pilsners and lagers are good, but they do a lot of fun stuff with a lot of fruit beers. They do a lot of nice coffee style stouts and really heavy on the good IPAs, like the 8 to 10 percenters.
okay.
Uh, it's pricey, but dude, it's good stuff. Um, so I that's one I highly recommend. So I'll probably be seeing that shipment come in next week. But
Yeah. I just killed a bottle of I want to say it was Nico, a Japanese whiskey, but it was cask strength, so it was like super
ooh,
strong, but it was good. Oh, so good. I want to go back and get more. And
nice.
then taking drinking it very slowly, but Dogfish Head has their own whiskeys every once in a while, and I have a alternate takes number two, which is just I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a very good whiskey. I
Have,
liked it anyway.
have you seen? And it's funny we get into this one, but the New Holland makes a beer barrel bourbon. Have you ever seen that?
Um, I've been looking for it, but I haven't found it near me.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I knew they made it though.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, it is one of the most buttery smooth. I've got a bottle
Oh,
in my
okay.
cabinet,
Yeah.
and it's really not expensive either. It's probably 35 or $40
That's not
for
bad.
like a 750.
Yeah,
The
my
yeah, it's crazy because it's like dangerously, yeah, it's
gotcha.
good.
Easy drink. Yeah,
Yeah.
my go-to is usually a Glenlivet, um, single malt, or I like the Johnny Walker Gold too a lot. Like
Yeah,
that's the stuff that you know is going to taste the same every time you have it. So I just kind of keep that around.
I've got 3 that I think of. I love Makers. I just can't go wrong with Makers.
Yes,
Um, and
that
then
was my dad's drink of choice.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just can't go wrong with it. It's just such a good one. Then I also love like Evan Williams, Bottled and Bond, and mainly
Uh,
because it's such a cheap whiskey, but it's so good.
yeah, we've had Evan Williams. When my dad was before he got his lung transplant, he wasn't able to drink after that because of the anti-rejection stuff. But
Right.
he was a big bourbon drinker, so I knew every Father's Day or Christmas or whatever, I'd just pick him up a different bottle that was like a decent bottle, like a top shelf kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
We never got to try Pappy Van Winkle because we could never find it, but that was
Y
like his the one he wanted to try.
yeah, man, and even down here, it's kind of like a unicorn.
Yeah.
There's a local liquor store here that they will do a raffle every Christmas,
Okay.
and you can enter the raffle, um, for the chance to buy it.
Hmm.
And so you have your different, your different year variants, and then your chance to buy it's basically based off market price.
Gotcha.
Um, and I've never entered it, here and there, but it was recently in Louisville, about 3 weeks ago, and found a bourbon bar that had it by um, the pour,
Yeah, gotcha. The
and
ounce or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, and they had Pappy 23, and it was $75 for a pour, and I was like, yeah, not today. Just could not stomach doing
Yeah.
that whenever I'm sitting there buying $10 bourbon flights.
Gotcha. When uh, when I was younger, we a couple of friends went to a piano bar in the city, and they had Johnny Walker Blue, and that was $40 at the time, but I had to try a glass of that, and I think it's overrated. Like I'd rather have the gold
Yeah, it's funny. It's
or the green. Johnny Walker Green's pretty good too.
yeah, there's been certain times where like I've found something that the bottle was $20, and it's been better than something I
Oh
bought
yeah,
for 100. You know,
yeah.
it's a it's a taste thing. I always say this with
Hmm.
the beer thing. People, I hate IPAs, and it's like, well, do you drink black coffee?
Yeah,
No, it's a taste thing. I mean,
yeah,
that's all it
exactly.
is.
Yeah,
But I
I
don't know.
never.
I think we're gonna have to we're gonna have to dive into a deep a beer. Actually,
Yeah,
you
it
know
was
what? I've got a really good friend of mine. I do beer trades.
okay.
Um, and I've always been wanting to get him on here. We're gonna have to get him on, and we'll do
We
like a
we did
beer
something.
whiskey
I wouldn't call
episode.
it a trade, but we would bring in different bottles to the company I work for now when we actually worked in the office, and we would drink in the office like once a month, and that was fun. But we haven't been able to do that since the office closed.
Right, right.
Uh, and
Yeah.
like you said, I never thought I liked beer at all until I like, what's this? It's a stout. Well, this isn't beer. This is good.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're right. There's so many different kinds of beer that it's hard to say that you can't say you don't like beer until you've tried like all of them almost.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, wine too. I would say my parents would give me, oh, it's a special holiday. Let's have wine. Like, oh, this is horrible. And then I tried some, other wines. Like, oh, this is actually better than that swill.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
And it's funny. We actually have a really good winery here. Um, they do more sweet wines though.
yeah.
So it's like kind of very small doses. 'Cause I don't really care for sweets too much,
Gotcha.
um, of
No, I
anything.
drink. I go pretty dry. Like I've been doing a lot of Chiantis, or I started drinking some Pinot Grigios, which I usually don't do white wine, but I was cooking with it and decided to sample what I was cooking with. This isn't bad. Uh,
That sounds like me with I use my smoker about once a week, and it's like, yeah, one beer in the bottom for you and one for me.
uh, I want to start. I was just actually talking to my mom about that. I was talking, well, for a while. I've been talking about buying a smoker.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's mine's just electric, so it's not
Yeah,
like but it's
that's what I was planning on. Something small just to start out
yeah,
with.
yeah,
The problem is it's just me. So if I'm going to smoke something, it's going to be a lot of extra, or I got to make small amounts.
yeah, and you can do something.
Yeah.
I mean, you can smoke small stuff. I mean, I generally like I'll throw a pan of like just chicken thighs, or I've done everything. Pork chops, pork shoulder. That was fun because my smoker's small, and
Mhm.
I took all the racks out and I was able to jam like a near 20-pound pork shoulder in it.
That's cool.
But that's about my limit.
Yeah,
But I've done turkeys, and I've done pork loins, and I'm actually doing another ham here for Easter.
that's
The
awesome.
veggies are great. But
Yeah.
the funny thing was, because I was so like kind of new to the whole concept, the first time I used it, I actually asked my boss. I said, "So how do I clean this thing?" He's like, "You don't."
That's flavor. Yeah.
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 I was like, "Oh, okay." And so, but I didn't know, and,
Yeah.
now it's, man, mine's, it is dark. It
That's
is
cool.
it is nice, and the cool thing is, one thing I love, and this is gonna sound really silly, but I have a pair of gloves that I use to, pull everything in and out because it does get hot, so you gotta be
Mhm.
careful,
Yeah.
and, I put them in a bag, and, like, every time I take them back out, you just have that
The
smell.
smell. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
it's like, "Ah, that's the
No, I
last 100
understand.
meals."
Yeah. I it's funny you say that. It was just we went to a couple of antique stores. My mom lives in Cape May, so we were going to some of the stores down there starting to reopen. And we had the old book section. You take out them old books and you just smell them, and it's just that
Ah,
old
yeah.
book smell. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's it's one of those weird things too, is it's like smell you can remember.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alright, man, it's been good. I'm gonna, let's close it up here.
Okay.
Alright, well, hey, uh, 2 out of 3 of us got here.
Yeah. I threatened on Twitter that we should talk about. I'm just thinking about this now. The best butts in wrestling, and maybe we should go back to that later.
Yeah, we'll have to revisit that one.
Yeah.
That's when Bob's here.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, we'll do that. But, no, it's been good, and,
No, I could tell
uh
you, especially if you give me some liquor, I can talk about music like a lot.
yeah, no, dude,
Yeah.
we, I know a lot of the ones we hit, a lot of common interest there in music, and,
Yeah.
it's always fun kind of going back down memory lane too, thinking about some of these now. It's like, I kind of want to listen to someone now that I haven't listened to in a while. But no, it's cool. And yeah, we'll have to do a good beer and whiskey episode, or
Yes.
one of both at some point. So,
Mm.
all right. So, all right, we're gonna close up shop here. Feel free to check us out at Twitter at Noise Brigade Pod. We're also online, anchor.fm/noise brigade. Um, Big Beefy Shooty Boys, that was Bob's website, .com, doublewhidecoffin.com, whatever. We're also on Facebook, which I never use. So I don't know. I think we're at Noise Brigade Pod there too. Anyway, thanks again for checking us out. Rich, it's been
Yeah,
fun. We will
absolutely. Yeah, thanks a lot.
catch you all later.